They buried him outside the wall. Not in the cemetery. Not in the brothers' field. Not even in consecrated ground. They dug his grave. In silence. At the edge of the woods. Where the wind never quite settled. No prayers were spoken. No cross was marked. Only a chain. Wrapped 3 times. Around his body. Heavy. Iron. Old. No one said why. The monks had taken a vow of silence. Years before. But even if they hadn't, they still would not have spoken his name. Some said he had been a priest. Others, a lay brother. A convert. A fraud. A man with no vow. But many sins. But no one visited his grave. And no one dared ask why they buried him in chains. Only that the abbot himself hammered the final link shut. And when it was done, he whispered, "Let what's in him stay with him." The chain was meant to hold the body down. But no one asked what it was trying to hold in. And for 30 years, it worked. Until the night it didn't. It was Brother Odin who noticed it first. He had gone to the edge of the woods to gather branches after a storm, something the younger monks refused to do once the grave was placed there. But Odin had no fear. He had served longer than the others, buried more men, kept more secrets. And yet, even he stopped walking when he saw it. The grave had moved. Not opened. Not broken. Just shifted. The earth, which had once been flat and sunken, was now uneven. Raised. Lifted. As if something beneath it had pressed upward. In the night, he said nothing at first. Not to the abbot. Not to the brothers. He only returned before sunset and sat longer in the chapel than he had in years. The others noticed, but no one asked. Until the next morning, when the birds stopped singing near the woods, and the dogs refused to go near the edge. That was when Brother Odin spoke. And his voice, once firm, trembled. "The ground," he said, "is no longer holding." The abbot gathered the brothers. No prayers. No questions. Only a shovel. And the old key. To the vault. Where the chain had been kept. All those years ago. But when he opened the drawer, it was empty. And outside, the wind shifted. Slow. Low. Like something breathing. Through the trees. The chain was not the first attempt to keep him buried. Before it, there was the hammer. And before that, the seal. Not a wax seal. Not a blessing. But a carved symbol. Etched into the bones of the coffin itself. A mark no one could translate. Not Latin. Not Greek. Older. Brother Odin remembered it. So did the abbot. They had both been there. When the man was buried. Both had watched. As the final link was hammered shut. Not into the wood, but through the flesh. And when it was done, they covered him in earth, and said nothing. No rites. No mass. Only silence. The Church had not approved. But the Church had not seen what he did in the chapel that night. Now, with the chain missing and the ground disturbed, the abbot returned to the cellar beneath the sacristy. There, behind two locked doors, lay the box. Inside it, the hammer, the broken seal, and the final record of the man's confession. It had never been read aloud, not even by the abbot. But now, with the grave stirring, he opened it, and what he read made him weep, because the man had not begged for mercy. He had written only one line: "Chain me so I do not rise. Not for their sake, but for mine." That night, the brothers heard it. Not a scream, not a voice, but the sound of something dragging across stone. Something iron. And in the morning, Brother Odin was gone. They found his robe just past the tree line. Torn. Soiled. Empty. No blood. No footprints. Just one thing pressed into the soft earth, where he should have stood. A single chain link. Bent. Blackened. Warm. The abbot told the others. It must have been wolves. A mistake. A tragedy. But the brothers knew. Wolves don't leave iron behind. And wolves don't ring bells. Low. Hollow. Not a full toll. Just a knock. As if something beneath the tower had touched it on its way past. Brother Jerome refused to sleep that night. He sat in the sanctuary with the old book of monastic rules in his lap. He read the line he had once skipped as a novice: "If a man dies under silence, but carries words unspoken, he will speak again, through whatever remains." He looked up at the crucifix. It was cracked. Not along the wood, but across the face. The eyes of Christ had split open. The next morning, no one mentioned the bell. No one spoke of the robe. Only the abbot stood long at the threshold of the chapel before saying quietly, "We buried what was left of him, but we never buried what was in him." And that night, the wind stopped completely, as if it was listening, and the earth above the grave swelled once more. It was Brother Lucian who found it. He had gone into the chapel before dawn, before the others rose, to light the first candle and kneel in silence. But as he stepped into the sanctuary, he stopped. Something was stretched across the altar. Not cloth, not rope. A length of chain, rust-bitten, heavy, still damp with earth. No one had placed it there, and no footsteps led in or out. Only drag marks, slow, curved lines across the stone floor. Like something crawling. With weight. He did not touch it. He backed away. Crossed himself 3 times. And ran to the abbot's cell. When the abbot arrived, the chain was gone. Only the marks remained. And on the wall, beside the altar, scratched deep into the plaster, were 4 words. Do not dig again. No hand had written them. Too jagged. Too burned at the edges. Brother Lucian swore. They hadn't been there. Just minutes before. The abbot dismissed the brothers. He locked the chapel doors. But that night, the wind returned. Low and rhythmic. As if something was breathing through teeth. At midnight, Brother Lucian was taken. Not from his cell. Not from the halls. From the chapel itself. The lock had not been broken. The door had not been opened. But inside, there was a second mark. On the wall. A single handprint. Pressed in ash. Fingers spread wide. Wrist torn. As if trying to hold on. And beneath it, drag marks leading to the altar. The chain was back. The abbot unlocked the archive. That same night. The records room, sealed for decades, held the last writings of the man they buried in chains. His name had been scratched out of every page, even the registry. But one document remained intact. A confession. Never spoken aloud. Written by the man himself. Days before he died. I have done what no man should. Not with hands. But with the silence that followed. I was told to speak. I did not. I watched innocence destroyed. In the name of discipline. And I said nothing. My silence became a chain around another soul. So chain me before what clings to me escapes. The abbot's hands trembled. He realized then why the man had begged to be buried that way. Not out of fear of hell, but because he carried something that didn't belong to him. Something that didn't die when he did. And something that had waited 30 years to find a new voice. That week, the silence in the monastery became unbearable. The bells cracked. The candles flickered without flame. And the crucifix in the novice chapel was found turned upside down, nailed that way from behind the wall. No one saw who did it. No one claimed to hear. But all of them knew. This wasn't just a haunting. It was unfinished penance. And it was looking for a voice. Brother Ulrich had never spoken more than was required. A quiet man. Steady hands. A heart, the others believed, was too small for trouble to find. But silence does not always mean safety. And some walls hear better than others. He came to the abbot just before matins. His eyes hollow. His robe damp with night air. I saw him, he said. Not a whisper. Not a tremble. Just fact. The abbot said nothing. Ulrich continued. He was kneeling At the edge of the grave. But not looking in. He was listening. To what? The abbot asked. Alric blinked. To something still speaking. They returned. To the site together. To the grave. Where the chain had once held. The earth was flat again. The drag marks gone. As if nothing had ever stirred. But Alric knelt. And when he did, the air thickened. The trees stopped moving. And the abbot heard it too. Faint. Low. A sound not like a voice. But the shape of one. Pushing. Against the veil. Of silence. Then Alric whispered. I know what he saw. The abbot asked. What was it? And Alric said. The sin. He didn't speak. Wasn't his. That night. Brother Alric entered the chapel alone. He lit no candles. He said no prayers. He stood. Where the chain had last appeared. And he spoke aloud. Not a confession. A naming. What the dead man had seen. What he had buried. And who had made him keep it quiet. When he finished. The bell rang once. Not from above. From below. And the chain. That had returned again and again. Turned to ash. In the air. They opened the grave. At dawn. Not in defiance. Not in fear. But because. There was nothing left. To hide. No chain. No seal. No curse that hadn't already spoken. Just earth. Still warm. The brothers gathered. In silence. As the abbot stood. At the edge. He made the sign of the cross. He nodded. And the digging began. But when the last of the soil was removed, the coffin wasn't there. Not rotted. Not broken. Gone. Only the imprint of it remained in the dirt. An empty shape. Pressed into the ground. Like something had risen. Or been taken. And at the center of that shape. A single piece of parchment. Old. Folded. Unmarked. Until the abbot unfolded it. And found 5 words. You heard me too late. They resealed the ground. No blessing. No stone. Just the memory. Of a man. Who had begged to be buried. In chains. Not for what he did. But for what he held. And for the silence. That followed. The monastery remains quiet now. No more bells. No more drag marks. No more chains. But when the wind passes through the old chapel door, some say, you can still hear a voice trying to finish a sentence that never got out. And beneath the earth, there's still a space where a coffin once was, empty, listening.